Hi, everyone. I'm Logan Baldwin, the Executive Director of Climate Film. With me, I have Jason Rosenblatt, writer, director, and editor of Worst Therapist Ever. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about your filmmaking background?
Yeah, I got suspended from Chicago film school uh, and start over. um, so yeah, I briefly went to graduate film school at Columbia College Chicago, and then I went and worked in Los Angeles in the trenches for a couple of years as a reader for like CAA and New Regency and I was a vault manager at a post house for several years. And I finally gave up on Los Angeles when one of the writers' strikes got me fired from like my first job with actual benefits. And then the writer's strike was announced, and they were like, "Well, there's not gonna be enough business, so we got to let you go." So I came back up, moved back to Oregon, where I was born and raised, and I started making movies up here, independent, and made two features and a few dozen shorts and a few web series, including when I got divorced, I made something called Ted Tantrum, which was basically a fat guy ranting in my kitchen of my apartment because that was all I could afford to shoot. And we did 40 some episodes of that. And the star of that, Alan Burrell, he's the guy in The Worst Therapist Ever. He's the patient. So, yeah.
Yeah, you guys went to high school, is that right?
No, we didn't go to high school. We met after I'd done like both my features. He introduced himself to me, and I cast him in as many things as I could after that. But
Yes.
I'd already made
I
both.
I think I was thinking about the actor from your next skit that everybody will see, Cross-eyed Dominatrix. That guy you went to high school with, is that right?
So that's Alan Burrell. Oh wait,
Yes.
Cross Matrix. Yes, I went to high school with him with Barry. Yes, I did. Different fat,
Yes.
different,
Okay.
different backstory, but yes.
Got it. Got it. Got it. I was researching the two on the
Yeah.
page, and yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Good. So yeah, let's see. You've submitted two comedy shorts to the festival. What
Yeah.
drew you to the to comedy as a genre? What do you find the most challenging and rewarding about creating comedic content?
Well, when I make features, I really like delving into serious material, but for short films, I really like comedies more because it's easier to tell the reaction, how well it works based on the reaction of the audience. You do a serious short, and it's like if everyone's really quiet, maybe you did your job, or maybe you didn't. You don't really know, but like if everyone laughs, you're like, I did it. So I really like that adrenaline rush of making people giggle and laugh, um, and knowing that I did my job with comedies. So
Yeah, you get that instant reward right
yeah.
there.
And if it doesn't
That's
work
great.
out, you move on to the next one. Whereas with a feature, my God, if I made a feature that was supposed to be funny and the whole thing wasn't, that would be just too depressing.
Oh yeah, sure, sure, sure. I get it. If you got a short and it's people aren't taking to it exactly, well, guess
Yeah.
what? It's over in 3 minutes. That's done.
Yeah. Oh
As
well.
opposed to 90.
Yeah, that would be a disaster of epic proportions.
Oh,
But yeah.
yeah. So you've collaborated with Crystal Lavero at least twice now, right? That we've seen, that I've seen anyway. You'll the audience will see it in a couple of shorts from now. Um, how did this partnership begin, and how do you both complement each other's creative processes?
Oh yeah, she posted a reel online on Facebook, and it was quite bad. And I told her it was quite bad, and she listened to but she was very good at getting views. Like I was like, she posted it, but it got a ton of views. But I'm like, this doesn't show anything. This is like your name and a wide shot of you running through the woods, shot on like, a DSLR camera, kind of shaky, and it's like with horror music. Like, yeah, you need to show your face and hear your voice. And anyway, so we started working together, shooting some scenes for her reel, and this was all during the pandemic. So it was all social distancing and trying to figure out scenarios where we could I would literally set up a camera and then like back away, and she would go in, and we check the footage, and uh, but then we sort of we formed a bubble for the pandemic. So yeah, and we would let a few other people into it, but it was basically me doing all the filmmaking stuff, and then her and then like one other actor, at a time, kind of thing. uh so basically, yeah, we shot a bunch of little short bits to build up her reel. That's what the Cross-Eyed Dominatrix started as. It just happened to hit on YouTube and get like 2 million views, so we had to build it out to be a little bit more. But it was basically like a really quick, you know 30-second, like, just video, or 45-second, whatever it was, video. And it's, yeah, it's kind of crazy how that happened. But
Yeah. Cool. I love to see that success for you there. I think I really love your writing style, and I love I don't know. It both Worst Therapist and Cross-Eyed Dominatrix really struck a chord with me. They're some of my favorite comedy that we've seen in the festival. So that's great, and I love it. And I absolutely want to see more and more. I remember writing down when I first watched your submission, give this guy a show, because I I really enjoyed it. I want to see more and more. I have a question. About about Worst Therapist, but about your comedy directing in general. How much do you guys improvise on the day, or is it all like word for word script?
that was, I think, most everything in there is all word for word scripted. In both things. Yeah, the funny thing was, for how fun and loose it looked, that was very controlled. Like, the backgrounds that they have, that was shot in a house, and we didn't like any of the walls. So the background, we had to flip it. We had to shoot it one side, then we had to move the entire background to be behind the other actor and relight it, and do the other stuff. But like that panel, we only had one, and so I think when we shot the other angle, we actually we had to combine it, like, digitally. So, like, in that one wide shot, like where you see it, it's a combined, like, VFX shot, essentially, to create this background. Because again, it was like just shot in a big empty house, and didn't look like a therapist's office at all. So yeah, when you do control things, it's a little. I mean, I guess you could improvise lines, just dialogue, but in terms of when people get up and sit down or crossing the frame, that all had to be very controlled. Just
Sure.
because he went past the middle, like, oh wait, now we have to merge that, and that's beyond our capabilities, or whatever. Um,
Yeah. I love that story. I've heard that story from you before, but I really love it. And I honestly I forgot about it. And when I went back to rewatch the sketch today, I still didn't notice it.
yeah,
And so it's like hearing that story for a second. I'm just like, oh, I totally forgot about that, and I didn't notice it. So that's a testament of how good the VFX were and how well it worked out for you that day.
yeah. The biggest challenge is actually when he walks, it shakes the house a little bit, or it shakes the camera. It doesn't shake the house. He's not.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is a camera on a tripod, so it's not that hard to shake it. Anybody would. It's not a reflection on Alan's. Uh, he actually had lost a bunch of weight before we shot this, so he's making healthy choices. But and yeah, but anyway, that was, yeah, that I was amazed that we were able to pull that one off. Again, I flew up a DP from LA for that, to shoot that skit. It's part of like 5 skits we shot together, you know, up in Oregon. So yeah.
Yeah, good deal. So, in terms of improv, do you guys ever do in your comedic sketches? Do you ever have any like comedic improv, like dialogue?
I'm gonna do more. I'm working on a couple of different mockumentary things, and I'm really looking forward to just sort of spitballing, like, with the actor, like, go ahead and spit out this, spit out the. And with Crystal, we did a bunch when she was tied up as a hostage in a basement with like a blindfold on and like yelling at her kidnappers like through the roof. And I remember we spent a couple of hours, with me just spitballing lines for her to like say, and that was fun. Coming up with stuff on the spot. But yeah, improvs, especially when you're working with people like just one on one, improv's a little more tricky because it's when you have the interaction of people that it gets a lot more fun. Alan Burrell's great at improv, and we did a commercial with him once. I'll have to send it to you. But we literally let him. We're like, okay, and the next take just go off, and he just like was spewing out these hilarious things and just getting really angry. And the reaction of the other person was really funny because they actually put their arms up, and in the skit they had like they were missing one arm, so it didn't matter. Like it was still just too funny and too natural to see them do it. But yeah, Alan can really go off when you like take the leash off and you're just like go, and he's yeah,
Good
um,
stuff.
golden
I love
retriever.
that.
But yeah,
I love that. It's great when you can have that, but at the same time, like I know when I'm writing comedy, I'm always like, well, no, this sentence was structured exactly the way so that it
yeah,
hits just like this. So I want you to do like that. You can do some other jokes, but this joke you have to go exactly word for word. So I always try and find that balance when I'm doing comedy like that. It's
yeah.
sort of, isn't it? Yeah. Um, so I guess you've already talked about one thing that I like to ask everybody is about the biggest challenge that they faced during production and how they overcame it. But you kind of already talked about the set and having to flip everything around. Was there anything else that you had trouble with, or because filmmaking is just about problem solving, and there's nothing's ever going to be perfect on the day. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that was the easiest skit of all the ones we shot because we had a full day of prep before it. Um, and also because both people were sitting down, it had the least movement, you know. Once you when you only have a crew of two, and you got to set up all the lights and stuff. It's like, okay, how much do we have people walking around? How much does that change? The stands and the set and this and um, you know, so yeah, this one where it's just two people sitting down, it was kind of the easiest one of all. Um, yeah, and it was just a matter, uh, yeah, uh,
yeah,
deciding whether we want to go, you know, like going to that weird angle where they're like sitting and they're leaning forward and they get kind of bigger and deciding when to use that in the edit. But
yeah.
again, it was pretty obvious when we wanted to do that. So,
Right, totally. What about like any big lessons that you took away from Worst Therapist specifically?
um, wish I had a better answer.
Yeah, no, that's okay. The extra full
No,
day of prep helps to do
everyone,
that from
yeah,
now on.
yeah. Always have that day of prep, and things will be smooth sailing. We didn't need that wasn't even the only thing we shot that day. That was just the second half of the day. Because yeah, I think I don't remember if that was the first half of the day or the second half, but that we shot that one, and then we shot a totally different skit with like the crazy real estate lady and the murdered body, in the house. That one, and so we literally had to reset all the lights, but we knew what we were doing. So yeah, it was fairly easy, but that was just the first half of the day, and then we send the actors away, and then we, you know, set up for the next one, and then the other actors come in and we shoot with them. So yeah,
Right.
it was a good half day.
Good deal. So what's next for you as a filmmaker then?
Uh, we're like I said, we're doing the Cross-eyed Dominatrix sort of as in a mockumentary, Modern Family style, with interviews and mixing it up a little bit. So we're going to shoot more of a developed, full-on pilot of that uh, in the fall, and then I've got another project, a horror mockumentary that I'm in the early stages of development on. So that one, it's kind of a fun realm for me because my history of
Totally.
filmmaking. I'm not a big horror guy, but I kind of uh, I get it. the guys who are obsessed with horror and the whole convention scene and the whole like dream of breaking out with like a new bad guy and all this stuff. So it's really fun territory to explore.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so excited to hear that, and especially that a series of worse, or rather, cross-eyed dominatrix. I'm so excited to hear that, and I can't wait to see more of it. Well, Jason, before we wrap up here, do you have any final words?
I do not, but thank you so much for letting us in the festival. And yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jason Rosenblatt, for submitting your film to the Klamath Independent Film Festival. Worst Therapist Ever will be on Evented for a limited time as part of our online showcase.